Welcome to lesson 9.6. We're still factoring trinomials. In this lesson, though, we're going to have an a value. That's that coefficient of x squared that's not going to be 1. Okay, we go through the same process as we did in factoring with when that a value is 1. Again, this is kind of a glorified guess and check. You want to be asking yourselves the same questions as you're factoring. So it's important to understand and remember where the A is coming from, where your B is coming from, and where your C is coming from. Remember, your A is going to be coming from the product of the first two terms being multiplied together. Your C is the last two terms, and then your outers and inners usually combine to make that B, okay? That middle term. So here's our first example. So we've got 20x squared plus 17x plus 3. And so we want to think about how this was created. And I like to always start with my 2 parentheses, okay? I just kind of start with that, and then I place my x's or my variable in there. Then the next thing I do is I check my signs. Okay, I check my signs because they're going to be extremely important and they're going to help tell that story. So I look to my third term. Since that third term is plus in this situation, I know my signs are going to be the same. Okay, my signs are going to be the same. Now, are they both positive or are they both negative? Well, since my third term is positive, it tells me they're both both signs are the same. And then my second term tells me the actual signs, and this is going to be both positive. Okay, so that tells me that my outers and inners add up to that middle term. Okay, now I start looking at my first term and my third term. And I notice my third term is prime, right? So the only things that are going to make 3 is 1 and 3. And again, I just place those in there because that's a certainty. Okay, just like my signs are both positive, the 3 and the 1 are certain. Now, I have 20. Numbers that multiply together give me 20. I got a lot of options, right? Now remember, numbers that multiply together give me 20. And now my outers and inners create 17. So let me ask you this. If I put one of my first terms as 20 and 1x, right? 20x and 1x. One of my outers or my inners is going to be something larger, at least 20, right? So do we think 20 and 1 is probably a good place to start? Nope, because that's going to create outers and inners that are going to be much larger than 17. Okay, so again, think about the questions that I'm asking myself. Okay, so my gut is telling me right now, I'm thinking I want something like maybe 5 and 4. I don't know why I want 5 and 4, but I think I want 5 and 4. Okay, now imagine if I placed a 5 here and a 4 here. My outers create 15 and my inners create 19. Does that add up 17? Nope, that's too big. So I'm going to erase that and I'm going to try, but I could still use 5 and 4. Remember my gut was telling me I want to do 5 and 4 for some reason. But if I put the 4 here and the 5 there, now my outers create 12 and 5, which adds up to, you guessed it, just what I need, 17. So again, this is a guess and check method, but again, it's very organized by using my instincts and also what I know about the terms, okay? So I can now check my work, and again, my outers and my inners, my first and my last, all create that 20x squared plus 17x plus 3. See how I did that? So again, these take practice, and they take practice, 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 okay? But if you're talking to yourself and having that little voice in your head asking you the same questions I'm asking, you should get the hang of it pretty quickly, okay? Let's try another example. So in this example, we've got a 3n squared and then a minus 6 in my C term, or my last term, okay? So again, I'm going to start with my parentheses just like I did before, and I'm going to put in things that I'm pretty certain of, okay? Things that are guaranteed. And I know I've got some minus signs there, so that's going to throw a wrench into some things. But my first two terms in my binomials, no doubt I have to have the 3n and a 1n, because 3n squared is kind of prime, right? So I place that in there, and that is certain. Now, my last term is a minus 6. So again, I've got lots of options. I can put a 6 and a 1, a 2 and a 3, and then I've got to have one that's positive and one that's negative. So again, I got some options here. However, okay, I am now going to start guessing and checking a little bit. Okay, and remember, because my C value is a negative, the difference in my outers and inners, okay, the difference in my outers and inners has to give me 7, okay? So I'm thinking I'm going to avoid the 6 and 1 combination for right now and try that last. I'm going to try my 2 and my 3, okay? And so if I put a 2 here and a 3 here, my outers make 6 and my inners make 3. What's the difference between my outers and inners? That's 3, not 7. So not what I need, right? So I'm going to flip-flop those, okay? I'm going to flip-flop the 3 and the 2, and I'm going to put the 3 here and the 2 here. Now my outers make 9 and my inners make 2, and the difference is 7. You've got it, right? So now what I'm going to do is I have to go back and check my signs. Remember, my outers and inners have to give me 7n, but they actually have to give me a negative 7n. So that combination, I need my bigger number, okay? My bigger is to be negative, and my smaller, which is my inner, to be positive. So now I have that minus 9n, and I have the positive 2n, which gives me the difference of a 7n. You see what I did there? Again, this is glorified guess and check, okay? And in class, we're going to go over a little bit more formalized, organized way of guessing, of factoring these when the A term isn't 1. But I think if you've done enough practice, this guess and check will start going pretty quickly, okay? Let's try one final example. Here we've got 18x squared plus 33x minus 30. And something that hasn't happened in the previous examples is that I have a GCF in my trinomial, right? I have a greatest common factor. Anytime you've got a greatest common factor, you want to factor that out first, okay? And so that greatest common factor is actually a 3. So I'm going to factor out the 3, okay? And now I have 6x squared plus 11x minus 10, okay? Now I'm only dealing with that 6x squared plus 11x minus 10, and I don't have to start thinking about factors of 18 and 30. It just makes your life a lot easier if you factor out a GCF first. And I will say, I'm guilty of it too. I will forget to factor out a GCF first and then notice it at the end after I've factored some bigger numbers. So it's always in your benefit to try and factor out a GCF when you can, if you can first, and then go from there. So in this case, if we want to factor this completely, we're going to have a factor of a 3 that's kind of going to be out there as well. We're going to actually have 3 terms. Now, our job right now is to factor that 6x squared plus the 11x minus 10, okay? And again, notice now my A and my C are both non-prime numbers. So I've got tons of combinations here. And again, this is where practicing multiplying binomials will kind of start leading you and your gut to some of those easier factors and kind of ignore some of the ones that are probably going to be not in our favor, okay? So again, I'm going to start with, in this case, I don't have any certainties, right? Except I know I've got an X and an X. So at this point, I'm kind of guessing and checking along the way. And again, we can always, when we've guessed, we can always check it and see if it works. And if it doesn't, we try something else. So I am going to try I don't know why, I'm going to try a 5 and a 2 here, okay? And now I've got 6, which is 2 times 3. So I'm going to start guessing and checking. So I'm going to put a 2 here and a 3 here. Okay, now notice my C value is a negative. So that means my outers and inners are going to have a difference of 11x. Okay, so I want a difference of 11x. So my outers in this example, and this guess, make 10, and my inners make 6. They do not have a difference of 11. So I'm going to throw that out. So let's change, and I'm just going to change one thing at a time, okay? And this is where you might want to make an organized list of all of your factors so that you're not trying the same factors over and over again. Since I put a 2 and a 3, I'm going to keep with those numbers, and I'm going to put the 3 here. I'm going to put the 3 here, and then the 2 here. Okay, and then again, my outers and inners are going to check, and I make 15 and 4. Hey, wait a minute, that has a difference of 11. Awesome. So now I need to put some signs with it. And I want that 15 to be positive, right? So that I take away 4x. So I get a positive 11x with my outers and inners. You see how I've guessed and checked along the way? And now I have the factors of 3 times 3x minus 2 and 2x plus 5. And I've had some students ask, does it matter which terms I put in which order? Not really. Again, you can multiply in any order, really. So I do like that 3 out front first. And then I have the linear binomial times a linear binomial. And again, it's just kind of personal preference in which ones I put in which order. But there you go. The factor of 18x squared plus 33x minus 30, when I factor completely, and notice completely is the right word there, I get the factors of 3 times 3x minus 2 times 2x plus 5. As always, complete that post-video check. Sorry, this was a little long, and let me know if you have any questions.